reasons.
Okay, hello friends. This is Michael Huffman. I am the creator of the Sharp Readings videos, and I've invited my younger brother, Tim, to come on with me today and have a conversation. Tim read my book, and he even has his copy right there. Untie the Cords of Silence, it's called. And there will be a link below the video so you can get a copy for yourself if you're interested. And Tim is my youngest brother. I have 7 siblings, 6 of which are brothers, and Tim is my youngest brother. And so I'm excited for that reason to have him on, and also just to get his perspective. Tim is a college student. He's studying finance and accounting, and also just recently added a minor in pre-law. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So I'm excited to talk with you, Tim. Thank you for coming on this illustrious channel.
Of course, I'm excited to talk.
And we also have Martin. This is Martin. He's my youngest son. He is 5 months old today. So, Tim, I thought I would begin by asking you what your church experience is, and in relation to the topic of male and female equality.
Yeah, so I grew up in a non-denominational church, and I kind of bounced back and forth between visiting parents, but both churches were actually non-denominational, all male leadership in terms of pastor and elders. And as a young person, I never really thought about the importance of equality in leadership, just because I was used to having a male as the leader, and I never really thought about it until maybe junior or senior year of high school, when we had women come and do our chapel speaking at my school, because I went to a Christian school. And so I was like, I wonder why they're, I guess, permitted to speak in chapel, but they're not allowed to speak in church. And so that also brought up the question of, okay, so what's the difference between church and what's and like my Wednesday chapels for an hour? So yeah, that's kind of the backstory, I guess.
Great. And I think that part of the reason that you read this particular book was because I wrote it.
Yes, but that's part of the.
Did the book change your opinion?
Yeah, so before I read the book, I was skeptical about whether or not the arguments were going to be like biblical, I guess, because I've heard a lot of people argue that for equality based off of just that being the, I guess, nice thing to do, like the right thing to do, rather than, okay, so this is where this says this in the Bible, and here's the Greek, and here's how this is interpreted by this scholar. So that's that. I was skeptical about that before I read it, but that thought that I had previous to reading the book was wrong when I read it. And Untie the Cords of Silence does a really good job of bringing in the Greek and the scholars, and you have summaries of passages, and all the passages that I have thought about previously. I was like, there's no way that this could mean, that that women can be pastors or not pastors or whatever. So that was what I thought before. I think that, I'm going to be honest, I still struggle with it changing my mind about it. I'm just being fully honest. I think it has definitely opened my eyes, though, to the fact that I'm not gonna accuse people of being unbiblical if a woman becomes a pastor or they believe that that's okay. Not at all. I think that's the biggest thing that's changed.
Okay, well, that I think is one of the goals that I had in writing that book, was to show to people that while there are some who, of course, would say things like, Paul was just outdated and he just didn't really understand women. He didn't understand. He wasn't married. I've heard people say that, so he couldn't really understand what that relationship looks like. I don't think that we should take that approach. And and there's a sense in which I can't. Like, my psychology just won't let me take that approach. But I think that one of the goals that I want in the book, and just the church as a whole, needs to stop using this rhetoric of that the scripture clearly says something, when there are obviously godly people and sincerely studying the text and trying to discern what it says on both sides of these issues, many times this issue and other issues as well. And so that's great. I'm very happy.
Yeah, me too.
I appreciate your honesty about it too. So I was wondering if there was a specific part of the book that you found the most helpful. You mentioned those summaries at the end. Was there like a specific passage that you felt most, the exposition was the most helpful for you?
I think what I enjoyed a lot was Genesis, because I had never really thought about how God created Adam and Eve, and how some people interpret that sometimes as since Adam was created before Eve, that he's the head of the household, or the I guess ruler over Eve, and therefore all men are ruler over women. I never really thought about it that way, but now I kind of saw, okay, I can see how people could interpret this what I believe the wrong way, now that I've read your book. And so I thought that the Genesis passage in the beginning of the book was quite good.
Great. I'll pay you later. Okay. So you're single. I mean, you're not married. How do you anticipate, because you would like to be married someday, as I understand.
Yes.
How do you anticipate thinking through this as a young single person will be important for a future marriage? Now, you can only speculate, of course. You never really completely know until you're actually in the relationship. But I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about that. Was that part of the way that you think about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that it's difficult, because I know of marriages where both the woman and the man agree that the male is the head of the household, I guess, or that all decisions kind of stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and yet I do not really see that in action. Like, it's weird, because I see some marriages where that's agreed upon, but decisions aren't actually really made that way. It seems like the man is like, yeah, I mean, she's skilled in some areas of the marriage that she should make the decisions on, and maybe I'm more skilled in some areas. So that's where it's like, I don't understand how this affects the daily life in marriage necessarily. It's kind of just like,
You mean the view that the man is the authority in the marriage? You don't see that in the marriages that you admire, you don't see that actually into play very often or at all.
Well, I see that that's a good, it's a good marriage from the outside. Like, everyone, they're happy. They believe that they're honoring God with the way that they run their marriage. They encourage their kids well. They read together. They respect one another. So that's the struggle for me, is to see how this this change of mind in terms of equality in the marriage will actually affect the day and day life in the marriage. And so does that make sense, or do I need to?
Well, it does make sense. I think let me just repeat back what you're saying, so see if I do understand. It seems to me like you're saying that you know a lot of people that believe that the man is the authority over the woman in a marriage,
Mhm.
but you don't see that the decisions are actually working that way. You see that actually what they're doing is they're discussing the decisions that they need to make, and some of the decisions the man makes and some the woman makes, depending
Mhm.
their expertise in various areas, or maybe just convenience, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so you don't necessarily see how changing your mind one way or the other affects anything, because it seems like
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's a really good point, and obviously you and I know a lot of the same people, and we respect a lot of the same people. We've watched. Uh, um, we have mutual friends, and we watch them, and we like the way that they interact in a Christ-like way with each other. So
Mhm.
the argument that I would give and continue to give, and also just give in the book, is that if you're basically in practice behaving as if you're equal to each other, why not just say that? Why not just have
Yeah.
a, a theology that supports that practice? So,
Mhm.
so is that kind of what you're? Well, I mean, that last part was my thing, but the first part, I think, did I understand you rightly there?
Yeah. I think that's a good way of putting it. At the end of the day, it's all about putting one another first, because that's what Christ did for us, and I think that's where all eyes should lean towards, is the way that Christ lived, his sacrificing himself for others constantly, and then ultimately on the cross for us. And so that's key, I think. So,
Great.
yeah.
Like it. That's very good.
Okay.
Okay. That didn't that okay, so you recommend the book.
Oh yeah, totally, hands down.
Great.
Best book that I have read so far. Actually, it is the only book that I have read so far, besides like articles and videos. So I think that people will be enhanced no matter what side of the argument you're on. They will be benefited from reading this book for sure.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate your coming on here, and we will talk again. Maybe we'll do one of these again.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. All righty. See you later.
See ya.
Sharp readings.